All right, we are still considering Cambridge IF8. This is first test 1, and this is reading passage 2, which is the topic is air traffic control in the USA. Okay, so we are moving on to the true, false, not given aspect of the question. I'm going to quickly mute everyone once again. I think I could hear some noise on the back. All right, so this true, false, not given, I find it to be very interesting, very interesting. And this particular question, as difficult as it sounds, because a lot of people probably were scared of the fact that he's talking about airspace and all that. It's the questions were very straightforward. Likewise, the answers, okay, as you will discover now. So let's look at true, false, not given again. The main idea is that for question 20 to 26, do the following statements, do they agree with the information given in the reading passage 2? And this is the instruction. Can someone help me respond? Yeah, thank you so much for responding to people in the group. So please, I want us to respond to people in the group when they have issue, please, because I need to be focused here. Now, in box 20 to 26 on your answer sheet, write true, false, not given. It is only true if the statement, this statement 20, 21 to 26, agrees with the information given in the paragraph, in the passage. It is only true if the statement given is the same thing or agrees with what we have in the passage. It is false if the statement we have been offered here contradicts, it's the direct opposite of the information we have in the. And it is not given if we don't have enough information on this issue they have raised to say it is true or false. All right. So that is quite straightforward. So a lot of people have issue with true, false, not given, yes, no, not given, but this is all you need to understand. The day you understand this and you are able to interpret every question correctly and find the appropriate part of the passage where the information is given, you can always get 100% of your true, false, not given. If not all, 90% of the time, you are going to ace it, okay? All right, so I'm going to apply that principle now. Now, question, the FAA was created as a result of the introduction of the jet engine. This statement will be true if there is an information in the passage that talk about FAA was created, was developed, was as a result of the introduction, was created as the introduction of the jet engine. It will be false if the jet engine came before FAA creation. It will also be false if FAA was created as a result of something different other than the introduction of jet engine. All right? And it will be not given if the FAA was probably there was no information about what led. Now, this is what you need to focus on here. What is the result of creating FAA? That's the question behind in your mind. Okay, what led to the development or creation of FAA? So if we don't have enough information about what led to the creation of FAA, even though it was created, the answer will be not given. All right, so let's go to where we can find FAA. We can find it in paragraph A to see. So An accident that occurred in the skies over Grand Canyon in 1956 resulted, can you see, they were so generous to put the same word, okay, but then at times that can distract, can just be a trap. In the establishment, you can see, creation of FAA. Now, I have found the information I'm looking for. Every other thing you are looking for after finding this information is wasting your time. Okay, if you end up going back to the starting structure of this blah, 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 or you went ahead to read paragraph B or C or D and all that, you are only wasting your time. All that matters to you is FAA. Look for FAA. Look for where they mention FAA. Now, there could be 2-3 places where FAA was mentioned, and look for the establishment of FAA. And the next thing you are going to look for is, did they talk about what led to this establishment? And from the passage, can someone tell us what led to I'm going to allow us, I hope it will make sense to allow you to tell me what led to the creation of FAA.
It was as a result of the accident that occurred in the skies.
Beautiful. So please, no other person should respond again because that is the answer. It was as a result of the accident. Okay? And that makes our answer to be what?
False.
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 Thank you. Because the creation of FAA has nothing to do with jet engine. Now, unfortunately, some people might still get to this point. You have found the information. So what could make you to choose not giving? You probably, everybody can now say it is not true, okay? But what could make someone say it is not given? I think there is no reason. Probably someone is looking for the directly opposite, that probably you are looking for the FAA was not created as a result of the introduction of jet engine. No, this is reading. This is what they want to test, your comprehension of the passage, that what led to the introduction of FAA. It was due to an accident that occurred. It is not due to the... Sorry, I have an invasion here. Stand up. All right, sorry, my child came in. So, my child. So now you can see that the answer to question 20 is false. Okay, so I'll move on to question 21. You can see that's very simple. 21 says air traffic control started I'm so sorry about that. That's from my hand. So question 21 says that air traffic control started after the Grand Canyon crash in 1956. So the air traffic control started after the crash in 1956. Now, we all know that the accident, what led to the establishment of FAA was the accident. Now, but now I'm looking for ATC, air traffic control. One other thing about true, false, not given that makes it very simple is that once you find a question, the answer to one question, the next question, the answer to the next question is just rightly below that. So because we found answer here, the next answer is probably here, just below that, not before it, okay? So now ATC, they talked about ATC here. Those are words that cannot change. Air traffic control in this place, in this passage, they might not change it at all. Okay, so ATC started after the, so they now say rudimentary, that is basic, not really complex, but rudimentary ATC existed well before the Grand Canyon disaster. As early as the 1920, the earliest ATC, manually guided aircraft, you can see. So the information we have in the passage is that ATC, although it was rudimentary, existed before the disaster. So which makes this statement to be false. It will be true if ATC started after the Grand Canyon accident. It will be false if it started before it, okay, as we can see, and it will be not given if there is no enough information for us to justify whether it is true or false. You can see, you can spend a few seconds on these questions. Now, moving on to question 22. It says beacons and flashing lights are still used by ATC today. Now, when you see this, you have today, that is currently. Things like currently, are they using it? Now you have beacons, flashing lights, which you can see. So let's look for where we have beacons and flashing lights. Now, because I can find beacons here and flashing lights, so I'll read back a bit. So as early as the 1920, the earliest ATC manually guided aircraft in the vicinity of the airport using lights and flags, while beacons and flashing lights were placed along cross-country routes to establish the earliest airways. Okay, so it was used as early as 1920. Flash and beacons were used. However, this is purely visual system. No, sorry. This purely visual system was useless in bad weather. And by the 1930s, radio communication was coming into the use for ATC. Okay, so I would like to hear your response. I haven't read these together. I'd like to hear your response. Is beacon and flashing lights still used today?
Not given.
It's not given.
Okay, I've received 2 non-givens. Any other opinion?
Not given.
Okay. Any other opinion apart from not giving?
My own opinion is false.
Thank you so much. Don't join the crowd. You might be the only one that is right.
My own opinion is false.
Thank you. Thank you. Acknowledged.
Okay.
All right. So
not given.
okay.
But there is no place in the passage where they explain that it's still being used today.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to.
Sir, please, can you scroll the text up a little?
Okay, I'm going to do that. I'll do that. All right. I've muted us again. So so now, while beacon and flashing lights were placed, we all know they were used as early as 1920. Then they said, however, this purely visual system, that is beacon and all that, were useless in bad weather. And then in 1930, radio communication was coming. So now, it will be true if beacon and lights are still used today. Okay? It will be false if they are not in use today, and not given if we don't have enough information to say it's still in use today. So the only information we know is that it was used in the past, okay? And then as of 1930, because it is clueless. It's not that useful in bad weather. In 1920, there was introduction of radio communication, okay? But that doesn't mean that they stopped using light and beacon, and that doesn't mean weather is still in use today, okay? So this 1930 radio communication was just a distraction, or definitely it's useful in the passage, but for this question, it's just a trap. There was no information to tell us whether it is still in use today. The answer is not given. Okay, so at times it's good to stand out of the crowd, but then you might miss it. Okay, let's move on to question 23. Some improvements were made, you need to take note of that. And then improvements were made, as in the past, in the radio communication during World War II. Okay. Let me erase this one that is flashing everywhere. Now, World War II. I'm looking for Second World War, which is World War II. Now, in 1940s, so now for question 23, you know, I'm not going to come up to paragraph B or A to be looking for answer. Since the answer for the information for 22 was here, I definitely have to come down, okay? Just reiterating that principle again. So, and I could find Second World War, which is something that can't change. So in 1940s, ATC centers could and did, so they took advantage of the newly developed radar and improved, that's some improvements, and improved radio communication brought about by the World War. Okay, every other thing is a story. What they are saying is that some improvements were made in radio communication during World War II. Is that true? Yes. Some improvement, there were improved radio communication brought about by World War II. Okay, you can see they are quite straightforward. That makes this true. All right. I'll come back to, I'm going to leave all my trashes on the questions so we can come back to the passage later if you have questions. Now, moving on to 24. So I'll have to come down, bring the passage down a bit. Okay, I'll come down so I can see clearly almost everything. Now, Class F airspace is airspace which is below, okay, 365 meters and not near airports, okay? Class F. So the only place they talk about Class F, let's see. Hold on, sorry about that. All right, so I'll come down here to paragraph G. So I might have to move up and down for this one so you can understand. So now, Class F, that's the first place they talked about Class F. So controlled airspace is divided into several different types designated by letters of the alphabet. Uncontrolled airspace is designated Class F, while controlled airspace, blah, blah, blah. So all I need here is that uncontrolled airspace is designated Class F. Okay. Now, the reason why I told you that I'm going to move up and down here is because, is because the only place they talk about Class F, they just mentioned controlled airspace, uncontrolled airspace. So class F is a form of uncontrolled airspace, okay? Sorry. This is the only question that is a bit technical in this passage, okay? So don't forget, this is class F. I'm trying to carry everybody along. Uncontrolled airspace is designated class F, okay? Now, because I want to know the altitude, because they mentioned altitude here, class F airspace is airspace below, which is below 375 meters and not near airport. You remember they talk about being near airports or not being near airports, okay? Sorry, just want to convince you before we choose our answer, okay? All right, so almost there, nearly there, nearly there. In general, from 365 meters above the ground and higher, the entire country is blanketed by controlled airspace. So, so now, from 365 meters above, that is controlled airspace, okay? 365 meters above the ground, the entire country is blanket. So in the entire country in the US, anything above 365 meters is controlled airspace, okay? Now, and then anything below 365 is uncontrolled airspace. That's what it means, okay? So, and then all uncontrolled airspace are categorized as class F. So it's as good as saying that class F airspace or uncontrolled airspace are below 365. To this point, it is true, okay, to this point. Now, and they said, and near airports, and near airports. So I'm going to get your reaction. Just allow me to play around, okay? But I want you to get the information. I'm sure you did that while you were attempting it too. So, where is that? So we can agree on what the answers are. So speaking about whether they can go near airport or not, the only time they talk about near airport, let's look at it. Now, uncontrolled airspace is designated class F, okay? So that is class F airspace, okay? Because they didn't talk about altitude, that was why I went to where they mentioned 365 meters, okay? Just for you to know. So uncontrolled airspace is designated class F. It is definitely below 365 meters. While, now they didn't talk about class F again. They said while controlled airspace below 549 meter above sea level and not in the vicinity of the airport is class E. Okay, so if you read all over in this passage, they didn't talk about uncontrolled airspace again. They didn't talk about, there was no mention of, so the information we are looking for is here, okay? Okay, now I'm going to allow you, before I choose my answer, I'm going to allow you to react now. We have 10 minutes to go, Jesus Christ. Okay, so just very quickly, I knew I'm taking my time, okay? So very quickly, I need you to respond. What do you think the answer to
Not given.
It's not given.
not
It's
given?
not given.
Not given, because we can't validate whether they are near
Not
airports.
given.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other contrary opinion to that?
No.
Not really you. Yeah, speaking for everybody. Okay, so I agree. I agree that there is no. Yeah, so my answer to this question, okay, my answer to this question is not given. Okay, But then if you look at, even in Cambridge IELTS, the answer they gave was, I think, they gave true. Okay, so I'm telling you that so you can go back to it, but using the principle here, the answer is not given. So what I did in your assessment was I marked for people who chose true and also for people who chose not given. Okay, just to be fair and allow for any dispute. Okay, but my answer is not given. There was no information about whether they are close to the, and you can come back to, I won't like us to argue that now because of our time. We have just 8 minutes to also talk about this, okay? All right, so since we have found the answer to 24 here, 25 is definitely going to be around here. So now, all aircraft in Class E airspace must use IFR. So let's look at Class E. They first mention it here. All airspace, no. Now, the reason for the division of Class E and Class A airspace. So they divided, I wish I could turn this paragraph G to a table for you, okay? I was trying to do that, but because of time. Now, the control airspace was further subdivided to Class E and A, okay? Because it's based on the operation and type of planes operating in them, sorry. So Class E airspace is where one finds general aviation aircraft, okay? Now, this is where you should focus on, which can climb, blah, 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 and blah, 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 okay? Now, we're looking for IFR, right? So the difference between Class E and A airspace is that in Class A, all right, all operations are IFR, that is instrument control, something like that. And pilot must be instrument rated, okay? So the difference between Class E and A airspace is that in Class A, all operations are IFR, okay? This is where the answer to question 25 can be found. This is the information, okay? So all, you have to take note of these absolute words. All aircraft in Class E airspace must use IFR. Even if the passage, so what do we have? Class E and A airspaces are in Class A, all operations are IFR. So that means that all operations, all aircraft in Class A must use IFR. That's Class A. But not all for Class E. That's what that statement means. Okay? So which makes this question to be false. I'm sure you agree with that. Okay? All right. So I'm still going to reiterate some of the principles you need to use when you're answering true, false, not given. Okay? Now, the answer 26. I can see some charts up there. I'm going to read them soon. A pilot entering Class C airspace is flying over an average size CE. So since we find the answer here, definitely to be around just below there. So 3 other types of airspace, which are class, you have to pay attention here, Class D, C, and B. A lot of people miss this question. 3 other types of airspaces are classes D, C, B, govern the vicinity of the airport. These correspond, that is, these 3 D, C, B, correspond roughly to small municipal, medium-sized metropolitan, and major metropolitan airports, respectively. So you have to take note of these respectively and these. So speaking about these 3 classes D, C, B, so that means that D is for small municipals, okay? C is for medium-sized metropolitan, and B is for major metropolitans. Okay, all these are just municipal, metropolitan, are just synonyms for, let's say, urban area, cities. Okay, so it's like saying that class C, which we are looking for, airspace, they fly medium-sized cities. Okay, medium-sized cities. Okay, or average size cities. Okay, so pilot entering class C airspace is flying over where? Average size cities, medium size cities. Okay, I'm thinking what could have confused people in this place? Probably this respectively. You couldn't place it as D is for small, C is for medium size, and B is for major. Okay, so the answer to this one is true, because the aircraft, which the pilot, of course, is piloting, is flying over average size city. Okay, medium size municipal or metropolitan. All right, that brings us to the end of the true false not given. I'm going to allow reactions now. Allow for reactions. This is just 3 minutes to go. Anything while I quickly read through the chat as well. Any question? Any question, please? Is there any question, please? I'm sure I've allowed us to talk here. You can unmute yourself. Any question, please, before we can talk about the summary completion, because a lot of people missed that. You probably 10 for that.
No question, sir.
All
My
right.
question.
Okay.
Talking about question 24.
All right.
Or the real high health test, the maximum